finally wrap up with some Q&A. So pretty basic enough in terms of outlining agenda. Before we start though, people always ask me what I do with LinkedIn, and my friends, and you'll probably get this too, guys, if you study marketing now, if your friends aren't doing it yet, they will do it once you graduate. They call the marketing department the coloring department, which I understand why they come up with that concept, but yeah, every time I meet them, whenever else, they always kind of my friends give me jokes about going to the crayon shop, or going to the art supply shop to get new color paints or whatever. Or we did a rebrand a couple of years ago, and the view was, oh, did you get a new box of paint, different type of blue paint? So yeah, you get that in marketing. I think I'm a bit like Don Draper in Mad Men, but that's how I kind of think I am sometimes. Cool, sophisticated. My parents think I do this. I look at the screen all day long. I'm not sure if you listen to Jack's podcast, but when my mom and dad came into LinkedIn for Bring Your Parents to Work Day, they had spent the whole morning listening to a presentation about LinkedIn, about what the platform is, what you can do. And then we did a tea and coffee session, and they saw a screen with this screen on it. And my mom thought that was LinkedIn. So pretty, my mom and dad are very techie. And what I actually do is probably the same as you guys are doing right now, and spending your whole days on Zoom calls and on screen time. So it's it's the new normal. So about me, I graduated in 2008 from CIT, the marketing stream. Before then, we didn't actually have a marketing degree, so it was before that time. I feel very old now, 2008. My first job was in Carby Plastics, a company in Clonakilty that makes oil tanks and road barriers. Second job was in PGI, and now I'm 6 years at LinkedIn. So it's been a enjoyable journey for me in terms of marketing. One interesting thing about this was that in all of those jobs, I got the roles because I got the opportunity to apply for those roles because of networks that I had. So there was a role in the Carby Plastics role came from a lecturer in CIT who was contacted by someone looking for someone who just graduated from marketing. The job in PGI was actually kind of similar enough. I did apply for through LinkedIn, but when I applied for it, I realized I knew someone who was interviewing for the role, who was interviewing the candidates for the role. And similar enough at LinkedIn as well. I was on a LinkedIn profile, and I had a conversation with a recruiter on LinkedIn. So it does kind of having a network of people that you can talk to and engage with does open up opportunities for you in the future. And sometimes the opportunity may not be now, but definitely in the future, it's an exciting one. I was just saying to Harry and Nikki and Abby before we started the call, I'm going to get Pamela. Pamela was in your session this week earlier, talking about, I'm not sure what she did, maybe what Pamela does, but she was someone that I'm not sure how we connected on LinkedIn, but she was very prominent on my feed for the last couple of years, and I always thought if a job came up on LinkedIn that would suit her, I would definitely reach out to her and ask her to apply. So there was no opportunity for Pamela the first day we connected, but certainly as she was prominent in my feed and she engaged with my stuff and I engaged with her stuff a bit, suddenly kind of built that relationship over time. And when the role does come up, then I know where she is. I can find her. So invest now for tomorrow. And all opportunities are founded on relationships. At LinkedIn, we like to think about how opportunities do not float around like balloons, but they're tied to people. And I think that makes sense in every opportunity that most people have. That is kind of just the case, I think. So that's me in a nutshell. The other thing I suppose is what I do in LinkedIn. So I lead the team who manages the advertising for the LinkedIn ads business. So when you think of LinkedIn, people always ask me, how does LinkedIn make money? And LinkedIn makes money by selling ad slots on the platform. And we also as well, in the same way Facebook does, or Instagram or Google, but we also as well have different tools for recruiters that they can use. And we have tools for sales professionals that they can use. And of course, we also have LinkedIn Learning, which is the largest portfolio of online courses in the world online. And we also as well have a couple of other products too, which you can purchase from LinkedIn. But the platform itself and the ecosystem is based around the member. And most of the advancements over the last few years have been driven by members. Even on the ad platform, like a good example is when COVID hit, there was a need for more virtual events and more virtual ways to engage with your audience. People couldn't do events anymore physically, so everything moved to virtual online. And within a few weeks, we were able to launch a LinkedIn events platform. And that again was driven by the times we live in, but more importantly, demand from the members. So that's kind of the overview of what I do in LinkedIn, and I suppose the importance of the member in the ecosystem.
What drew you to LinkedIn, actually, just out of curiosity?
I suppose I wanted to, like, you obviously want to work in one of those big tech companies. I only planned to do for 6 to 9 months. It was a maternity contract I was doing. I had been working in a tech company in West Cork in PGI for, I think it was 2 or 3 years, and I really, really enjoyed it. I loved the fast-paced environment, etc. It was true for what I wanted to move to Dublin for a period of time because the social piece of it was key as well for me. I've been living in West Cork for a while, and I think other friends of mine who had been living in Dublin had more of a, like a social, like Friday evening, people go for drinks in Dublin, that's what you do. Whereas in Cork, you go home and you might meet your friend, but it was a different kind of social scene, I suppose. And then, but even so, the opportunity to work for LinkedIn, well, I couldn't turn down, you know. I've been looking for a role. Been looking at HubSpot, LinkedIn, Facebook, Google, those kind of companies. And then the role came up on LinkedIn and it actually suited me perfectly. I had a content background and they wanted someone with content experience. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. So yeah, right time, right place. So before I go, I have your pictures here on my other screen. Can you guys, can I get a show? If you want, you can use the actual, the emoji tools on Zoom. How many people actually have a LinkedIn account? Okay, so there's a large number, which is pretty good. I'd say most people have, which is, so I'm not going to go through today, spend much time actually on how to set up an account, because I think that's pretty, you can Google that pretty easily. And as well, the tool itself will help you guide you creating an account. It's like creating a Google account or an email account. But I will give you some tips on tips you can use to actually make sure you're maximizing your account, and some tips to actually enhance it as well. Another question I'm going to ask you, Harry, because you're unmuted. Do you know what? Could you tell me what LinkedIn is?
You put me on the spot here now. I suppose if someone asked me, I'd explain it as a professional community. Am I on the right track there? Yeah, I say it's a professional community where you can share what you do and what you aim to do. And I'd find it a lot more, I'd say, proactive than any of the other socials, because I feel you can get a lot more out of it in terms of, like, you put up a post saying you're looking for blah, blah, blah. You can get people, I find, are a lot more up for giving you interaction like that. Whereas if you put the same thing up on Facebook or Instagram, maybe less so.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to put a definition against it, because it does a lot of things and different things to different people. Our vision as a company is to create what we call the economic graph. And I have a short video to show you here, which I probably need to on-share and reshare again, actually, because I didn't click share with audio. But the economic graph, we try to, it's a long-term vision for LinkedIn. Like, so it's a really old video here from Jeff Weiner, who's our old CEO. But I think he kind of really explains it very, very well. So I'm not going to butcher the definition here, and I'll let him do it. So.
LinkedIn's vision, our dream, is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce, all 3 billion people in the global workforce. And we want to profoundly impact and change the lives of every one of them. The way we're going to do that is by developing the world's first economic graph. In other words, we're going to digitally map the global economy. What does that mean specifically? We're going to have a profile for every member of the global workforce. We're going to have a profile for every company in the world. We're going to have a digital representation of every job and every skill required to obtain those jobs offered through those companies. We're going to have a digital presence for every higher educational organization and university that enables people to obtain those skills. And we want to make it easy for every individual, every company, and every university to share their professionally relevant knowledge to the extent they're interested. And in doing so, the hope is that we can lift and transform the global economy. It's not enough to just standardize the data around the skills required to obtain a role. It's important that we're training today's workforce for the jobs that are and will be, and not the jobs that once were.
So I suppose what that means for like Micheál Martin, the Tshirt of Ireland, is if the economic graph says that there's lots of people in Cork with, say, marketing skills, for example, this is a pure example now, then maybe he should get the IDA to get companies that want marketers to move to Cork. It means that like if we have lots of people with engineering skill set in Dublin, then maybe we should set up a hub for companies that want engineering folks. So at a macro level, that's how we see LinkedIn benefiting the world economy. But at a local level, if you think about yourselves, guys, here you are, you have your profile on the platform. You can see a role you want outside there. That role has skills in the job description. If you don't have those skills right now, LinkedIn will help you through courses, help you get those skills, or help you show you how to get those skills. And if you have those skills, you can apply for that role on LinkedIn. So the idea is that we're trying to make it easier for everyone to have opportunities across the world. So even if, especially maybe in third world countries whereby it may not be as easy to get this information, the idea would be that we'd have it all in one place to help everyone, and everyone gets a level playing field. That's the macro view of LinkedIn. But I think what you said, Harry, by and large, it's a platform where people can share information and get value from it, essentially. So LinkedIn in Ireland, there's 1.6 million members. 67,000 people work in marketing roles in LinkedIn, in Ireland, sorry, not in LinkedIn. There's 4,000 marketers have changed roles over the past 3 months, which I think is interesting. It's either people are made redundant because of COVID, or on the flip side, it could be people who are moving for new opportunities. There's 3,000 marketing roles now available on LinkedIn in Ireland. Nearly 2,000 of those are at associate or entry level. So people graduating this year, those kind of roles would be of interest, I hope. And then globally, just the number here as well, there's currently 722 million global members on LinkedIn. So it's a pretty broad network. In most countries, we're the top professional network. So,
do you find there's any particular profession that advertise the most on LinkedIn? So, like, obviously, you'd have business students on there a good bit, and like people in that sort of sector. But is there any others that sort of should be on LinkedIn? Like, one thing I think of is like teachers and stuff.
Do you mean for jobs? Is it
advertising? Yeah, saying they're looking for a job, etc.
Yeah, LinkedIn has had we're very much a case of we appeal a lot more naturally to the professional network of marketers, accountants, and so on. And we're trying to appeal more to blue collar workers and to doctors and nurses and teachers. Certainly, yeah, that's something we're working on at the moment. You might have seen a lot of campaigns actually in the UK, especially on Sky Sports over the last year. LinkedIn is a place to get jobs, and that was really to showcase examples of people who weren't wearing fancy suits, who weren't in high-powered jobs, but like ordinary people, working people, that they can find value in the platform. And that really helped us grow a membership in the UK and from certain demographics. So it it just shows that it's a platform for all rather than just for some. Something that people always say, and I was hoping you'd say this, Harry, but I'm happy you didn't actually, is that people call it a jobs board. It's not a jobs board, and I won't spend too much time on this, but you can add a lot more to your profile than your CV. So you can add more depth and personality. You can add like photographs, PDFs, projects. You can add your thesis. You can add projects you did during college. You know, you can add so much to your profile. Pictures from the marketing society events. Maybe not the night outs, but definitely the workshops and so on. You can add endorsements and recommendations. So get people to endorse you, recommend you. If you're involved in societies, for example, why not ask, I think Aoife, she's still a society's officer, to recommend or endorse you guys, endorse each other. So I can see here Katrina Finton and Joshua Manade. If you guys work together in a project, why not endorse each other for collaboration or for skill sets that you've shared during that project? The other thing is that you can search a lot. So for example, if you do your CV, it's just a flat document. But if you actually have a profile, you can search. If I search for some, again, I go back to maybe I have a Tara Lillis. If Tara Lillis is really good at podcasting, for example, and I Google looking for a podcaster, LinkedIn profiles actually rank pretty well on Google. So there's a good chance that Tara might come up pretty high in Google because she has in her profile. And in the same way too, you can search, if a recruiter is looking for someone to help with podcasts in a certain company, they might search skills on LinkedIn and search for podcasting, and then get everyone in the Cork area who does podcasting. So it's important that you do update your profile, but you can bearing in mind that people will search and find it. And the other thing is open up passive opportunities. So this for me is the most exciting thing about LinkedIn is, if you think about it at any one time, let's just say there's 100 people in the workforce in Cork looking for marketing jobs today. And only 25 of them are currently out of work. And 75 of them have jobs. And you have a job on offer and you post that job as an ad, then you're only going to probably get the 25 people who are looking for jobs interested in this job. However, through LinkedIn search and so on, you can actually reach out to 100% of that group. So in theory, like I suppose, some of the people who are currently in jobs could be the very best at what they do, and they may not be looking for work right now because they're happy in their role. So but by not being on LinkedIn, you're actually not opening yourself up to be talking to other companies and more opportunities. So that's something that's I see big. As the more I develop my career, that's kind of got bigger and bigger. So certainly, I think that's something that's really exciting about LinkedIn long term. And I'm going to ask, I'll ask you again, Harry, because I think you're off mute. But would you find Pogs in costumes on LinkedIn?
Not all the time, no.
Yeah. So this is something that we have a new marketing campaign going live in the next month or two, and it's we're trying to highlight to marketers to market on LinkedIn, and we're saying to them, like, yes, this pug looks out of place on LinkedIn. People come to LinkedIn to do business. So I'm glad you said you wouldn't really see it there. You probably see it more on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter maybe. And there's research from a number of years ago, but it's been done every couple of years, and the same result comes back by TNS research, and it says it's kind of research. It's called the mindset divide, and it looks at people it looks at the same people like you, me, and everyone on the call here, and how we use personal networks versus how we use professional networks. So, for example, we use personal networks to socialize, stay in touch, be entertained, kill time, look at pugs with costumes, look at cat videos, share content, etc. from uni lad. And then on the professional side, though, it's a bit different because we're maintaining professional identity, we're making useful contacts, we're searching for opportunities, we're staying in touch with people, or keeping up to date. And you could probably add 10 things each to this list, where there's a big trend there from both of these things. And the big trend is on personal networks you spend time, and on professional networks you invest in time. And that's research that's been done every couple of years, and that's the results that keep coming out. So it's interesting that when you're using LinkedIn as a platform, you are investing in your long-term career. So that's the introduction to LinkedIn. Are there any questions or anything you want clarified?
I suppose even touching on the Pogs thing there, what sort of posts do you like to see on LinkedIn? Sort of what ones would pique your interest a bit more than the others?
I like the natural or like organic ones, maybe I'll call. Like for example, I don't mind the super uber professionally shot videos, but I really like, I think Ernest Canteland is a really good. He's from Cork. He owns a few bars in Cork and stuff, but he's a really good person to follow because he'll ask genuine questions to his members. He'll ask like, "Oh, here's a new name for our bar. What do you guys think?" And he gets super engagement from that. It's really impressive. You could also, I think you don't need to be super professional and have like fancy videos and fancy slides or fancy edited content. I think just getting content up there is the big one. And people also, I find myself with my own content I share. I could spend 20 hours on a blog post, loads of data and loads of research on it, or I'll share an update or team picture or something about my team or someone new hire for the team or whatever it is, something about people, and the people ones always get more engagement. So it's natural enough. People like people, and I think that's what works. Okay, so how to set up your profile for success. So there's 4 opportunities you can do this weekend if you haven't done so already. The first thing is to create your digital footprint and own how you show up in Google. Build relationships, which is building your network on the platform. Research and follow companies and jobs. And of course, stay up to date with your industry. These are the 4 big things I think students can do on the LinkedIn platform. So you can start definitely doing these immediately. I might just nip into a couple of these now. So it's funny, Harry, you asked that question about, what kind of content I like to see on the platform. And I like people being themselves. When I started working in LinkedIn, I used to have, 6 years ago, I used to have a picture, my profile picture was me in a suit, and every word was carefully crafted through thesaurus to make sure I sounded smart and to make sure I sounded very businessy. Whereas I think that's evolved now, and I think that's not what people want anymore. People want to be themselves and authentic. So don't ever try to be someone else. Just try to be yourself is the key one, I think. You are the brand ultimately. If you're 23, 24, 22 now, and you're going to create a profile and a brand for yourself in the industry, you're going to do this for the rest of your career, like 20, 30 years long. So if you're not authentic, it's going to be really, really hard for you to keep it up. So, but if you're yourself, it's pretty easy being yourself. Provided you're a nice person, it will land like pretty good with your audience. So that's one thing I say is that to be yourself and be mindful that everything that you do is your own brand. So creating your digital footprint, first thing first, like get your profile right. Very basic thing. There's 70% of companies screen candidates on social media before like reaching out to them or contacting them. If your profile is not, up to date, or your profile isn't even created in the first place, it doesn't show a good impression for you. 57% of employers are less likely to hire a candidate they cannot find online. And I found this myself actually when you're just before you're interviewing a customer, or just before you interview a candidate, you might try and do a Google search or a search to make sure you're the right person on the call or whatever, and it can be hard to find people sometimes. But it's a fact. So definitely, if you're not there, you could be missing out. And what will a potential employer find when they search for you today? It's kind of a question I have for all of you guys this weekend or tonight or today, is give yourself a Google and put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter or the HR person and ask yourself, what are they seeing? Is this what you wanted to see? If it is, then super. enjoy the weekend. But if it's not, maybe you should spend a few hours tomorrow morning on your profile and your personal brand. And just one other thing as well in the brand piece, because there's lots of research out there or workshops you can do to build a professional brand. And I've done some myself, and I've done, like, you know, you make a brand statement about yourself and so on. But I think if you're in the simplest form, just be true to yourself. You can spend a lot of time, and you can Google these things like, you know, how to create a personal brand and so on. You can do that, but if you're true to yourself, it's you know, you are who you are, and it's easier to be that way than creating a document about yourself. First impressions are very, very important. And the importance of your photograph, your headline, and your summary on LinkedIn profile is very, very important. When you look at someone's profile, for those of you who have been doing it, what's the first thing you look at? You look at the headline, you look at the picture, you look at the headline summary. Most people don't go down that far on the profile. And the reason is there's not enough reason for them to go through this profile in depth. So definitely, guys, I would encourage you to focus on getting your photo, headline, summary right. Some pictures may not be suited for LinkedIn. Here's some good ones. I'm not sure if they were ever used on the platform. I actually don't think this is that bad, because dogs are pretty good normally online. So maybe that's a mistake there. But certainly, look, this is common sense here. I think the idea of wearing a suit is probably not needed anymore, but certainly I'd probably discourage it. I think the idea of just being yourself is important. And it's really important you add a profile, because if you don't have a decent photograph, you will miss out on 14 times the amount of views that someone who has a picture. So it's really, really worthwhile getting your profile picture in place. As well, write attention-grabbing headline. There's a lot of research out there as well on this one. So again, the best way to do this is to understand your audience in this one. So this one is probably this isn't a bad headline, for example. But if I'm hiring someone who studied graphic design, it doesn't really tell me to hire them, or it doesn't really jump out at me to say this person's awesome, or this person needs. I need to scroll down on this person, because to be honest with you, if you've studied graphic design, you probably should be interested in careers in multimedia. If you're interested in fishing, I'd be fishing careers. That's a different situation. So certainly, I would I'd think about your audience a lot, and you can use keywords as well to help being found. So when you think about people searching for candidates or people or skills on Google, like, your keywords on your profile are important. In the same way, on LinkedIn, if people are searching for particular skills or particular people, they'll also use keywords as well. You can use keywords to make sure you come up first or second on the search results. And again, draft a compelling summary. The jury's out here about like how long or how short it should be. But again, I think just being honest here, there's lots of them. Maybe my own profile as well, it's like lots of buzzwords and so on. But because every profile now has buzzwords in it, it kind of makes them pointless. So definitely try and just be authentic here, and it doesn't need to be too long. Definitely add in pictures, videos, links to PDFs that you're working on, projects that you've done in college, pictures, everything. You can add them into your profile as well. So that's getting your simple profile right. I might talk about the keywords now for a second, because it's related to just that one. So as I mentioned earlier, LinkedIn works very well in Google in terms of as a SEO perspective. It also is used quite a lot as a search tool for recruiters. I mentioned earlier there's a tool that recruiters use on LinkedIn, and they can search, I want to find, I'll use a podcast example again, somebody with podcast skills, they've just graduated in Cork, and then different people will come up with the results for them. And then they can reach out to that person and ask them if they want to apply for a job. So it's very, very important that you don't neglect the keyword base, because it's a very simple thing to do. So I might just share my screen here. The first demo we're doing here. So this is my profile here. And let's just say I'm interested in a job I'm clicking LinkedIn jobs here. I'm interested in a marketing job. And here are some jobs I have. There's two ways you can do your keyword analysis. You can do it to appeal to your ideal job or your ideal person in that job, or a mixture of both. So what I'm saying is you can either look at this, for example. So Harry, can you pick one of these jobs here that you'd like?
Go head of marketing UK for, I think it was HubSpot.
Okay, so this one here. So simple way to do this is to copy and paste the text. And if you're really interested in HubSpot, what you could do actually is go through this line by line, take out some keywords. A quicker way to do it is to find similar jobs that you're interested in. So this one here, head of marketing UK, head of marketing Galway, or company in Galway and so on, head of international marketing. You could take these 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs, copy and paste the copy there, and then it will pull out keywords that's common to all those roles. So I've actually just put in some job specs in here. Now these are generic marketing roles, so I'll see. I'm not sure what's going to come out. So there's a job here for a gaming company, I think. Coastline Gaming, yeah, was the first one I put in earlier. There's one here for I think a marketing associate role. But there's lots of marketing jobs in here in the Cork area put in here. And then you can use a tool like Tag Crowd. There's loads of them out there. And you can just paste in those job specs, combine job specs, and then easily enough it'll tell you what the key recurring words are. Now, the jobs that we put in were very generic in terms of they were different jobs. They weren't this is all very specific role. We get specific keywords. But we can see here that marketing is a key one that comes up a lot, obviously. Management, planning, execution, and these are all things these are the keywords that you should put into your profile. So once you identify the job you want and the kind of jobs you like, you should do this exercise. Pick 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 jobs that you like, and create a word cloud top keywords here and make sure they're in your profile. And you can do the same as well for people. So if I go back into the normal LinkedIn here, I can search for someone. So I'm going to search for, I had Pamela. Pamela was someone who just graduated and she's doing pretty well for herself. So again, you can take her short description here. It's probably a bad example. Take a short description here. And you can also take other people's short descriptions that you see, or just other people's content in their profile. And you can then, of course, do the same process. So you can do it for people you want to be or jobs you want to have, or both. Put them all into one as well. But it's an easy way to actually find what kind of word you should be sharing and using.
I think that's a very good piece of advice.
Yeah, and the other thing as well, don't force it, in the sense that if it's not authentic to you, then obviously don't do it. But it's a simple way, I think, to have a quick way, and hopefully. Build your network. So you already have a network. And I presented a couple of years ago to CIT in 2016. I think it was an accounting graduate class. And one of the questions I got was about, I don't have a network. Where do I start? And you can, just a pretty big network already. There's how many people on this call right now? There's a good number. There's 27 people. So there's 27 people already that could be connected to each other. Then you have people you work with in your part-time jobs, people in the college, lecturers and so on. And I will say, in CIT, the lecturers are super supportive and they're very active on LinkedIn. So it's actually, if they see you active as well and jobs come up or opportunities come up in the future, maybe you'll be top of mind as well for them. So certainly it's a great, there's no shortage of where to start for your network. You already have it. And ask for, one other thing as well, when you do ask people to be to connect with them, you'd probably be given, so I'm going to just find someone randomly here that I'm not connected with. So Emma O'Reilly here. And when you go to ask someone to connect to them, make sure you add a note so they actually know why you want to connect with them, rather than just getting a cold addition. And it could be that, hi Emma, I see you work in the Galway Chamber. I'm looking to move to Galway next year after I graduate, and I would love to have someone who works in marketing in the area, or if you hear of any opportunities, I'd love to know about them. Like, she's going to say yes, because by and large, people are, like, if someone reaches out and has a reason why they want to connect, most people do accept that. The other thing I wanted to add while I was here was actually show you the recommendation piece. So again, there's a lot of people on this call, and I said this at the start about endorsing one another. And so towards the end of your profile here, you have a section called recommendations and endorsements. So endorsements, so for example, this skill I have here for social media, and I have 6 people endorse me for this at LinkedIn. But I think the recommendations one is very strong. It's a lot stronger. The first thing is when you give recommendations, you get recommendations back. But there's also people, as I said earlier on the call, people you do projects with every single day, like in college. There's your lectures, you can ask your lecturers. There's a ton of people you work with. So even your part-time jobs, and it's pretty easy to do it. So if I just go in here, I have Harry here quickly, and go into more, and I'll ask Harry for a recommendation. I hope he gives me one now after this. You fill out, we pick why you know Harry. So I'm going to say he's I was a client of his when he was the Marketing Society chairperson.
That's appreciated.
No problem. And then you can say, what, you know, pick the role you're in, for example, and then click next, and then ask Harry to write the recommendation. But this is important because if I'm asking, let's just say Harry was my manager in the local bar where I worked during college, and I'm asking Harry for a recommendation, Harry might say, Gearoid was very good. He was very good at chopping vegetables in the kitchen and very good with the customers and whatever else. But that may not be useful for you right now in your next part of your career. So for example, if you want a job in marketing, maybe you could ask, I could ask Harry, I prefer if you actually, Harry, let me start again. Harry, could you write me a recommendation, please? I'd love if you could focus on my teamwork in the bar, how you trusted me with the keys and so on, that kind of stuff. So it's more relatable stuff that you can actually bring onto the rest of your career and such. Now, if you want to become a chef, then yes, you would ask Harry to focus on your work in the kitchen. So just be a bit more, be personalized when you reach out to people, and also as well be specific, because Harry as the bar manager probably wants guidance too on how he should help you out. So people love a bit of direction. And then, oh yeah, the next one up is the custom URL. So a lot of people already know this one, but it's really useful when you're starting off in your career because you'll have it in everywhere you go. So here, for example, up here in the URL, we have linkedin.com/in/Harry Tyrrell. That works out. It's much better than, I might just check one of these random ones here and now see. So Alistair has it as well. Neva Mahoney. So Neva Mahoney hasn't done this work. And you can see here her URL is quite, like if you were to send this URL to someone, it's quite long, whereas you can actually customize your own URL. And if you think about putting a URL at the bottom of your email signature or in your CV, like, is someone really going to type out this if they're off from a printed document? Whereas it could be a lot shorter. So a quick way to do this, go into view profile, and then up here on the right hand corner, it's edit public profile and URL. And of course in here, edit your custom URL here and just pop in what you want it to be. So definitely, and do that too, because the more people on the platform, the less likely you'll be able to get your own name in your URL. And I did that in 2008 and it hasn't changed. So these things now will live with you for a long time, hopefully. I'm conscious of the time, but let's keep going. Building your career with LinkedIn, this is another, should be quite short anyway, but a really good tool for you guys to use is the LinkedIn, or the CIT Alumni Tool. I'm not sure if many people know this exists or that you can use it, but it's pretty good tool. So in LinkedIn itself, again, if you go into the Cork Institute of Technology college page, You have the About section here, you have some recent content. But on the left-hand side, there's a section here called Alumni. And this shows like what the 42,000 people nearly on LinkedIn that have gone to CIT from the year 1900 to 2020. And if you wanted to be specific, you could adjust that to if you wanted to as well, for example. But it tells you where they currently live, where they currently work, information like what they study when they were in CIT, what they do now, what skills they have, and how they're connected to you. So, but the interesting thing is, let's just say I'm a student coming to end my studies in CIT, and I want a job in Cork. I'll go into the Alumni Tool here. I'll search for marketing, and then that searches all the profiles for the keyword marketing. And now there was like whatever, was it 45,000 people? Now it's 8,809 people who have marketing in their profile as a keyword. Most of them are living in Ireland, which is good. I wouldn't mind, like the Cork thing, I wouldn't worry too much about, because in most people probably wouldn't have County Cork on their profile. It's Ireland they probably have, so don't worry too much about that. But this allows you to see, for example, oh, I want to work in Apple. So you click on Apple here, and then down in the bottom here, you'll see these are the people who went to CIT, studied marketing, and now work on Apple. So you could reach out to one of these people and ask them for information about working in the company, for a coffee. Like most people in generally to students will be open to talking to them. And you may not get a reply immediately, but most of the time people will take time to speak to students. You can also go over here. So we're currently looking at people who are working in Apple. So if I take out the Apple one for a moment here, you can see people that studied marketing is probably a better indication than using marketing as a keyword. But you can see here, sorry, back here. So these are people who are in marketing roles. You can play around with as much as you like, but it's a great way to find people and build your network. So again, if you want to, back to the point or the question earlier, Harry, about why I picked LinkedIn, there was probably 4 or 5 companies I wanted to work in at the time, HubSpot, LinkedIn, and so on. And if you find those companies, like you can search for these companies here as well, so you don't even need to use the tool. So if I say LinkedIn here, maybe this is the wrong company to use because, yeah, so 3 people have done marketing in their profile, and they've studied and they work on LinkedIn. So if I click into that, I can then see that Lisa, Neve, and Gearoid. So and then I can make a note I can send Lisa a message saying, hi Lisa, I love to have a virtual coffee over the next few weeks. I'd love to learn more about LinkedIn and the graduate programs or the opportunities that are there. So certainly guys, play around with this. There's lots of ways you can cut and cross the data. And most of the time, if you reach out to people, people will reply. That's the CIT Alumni Tool, and don't always have to post your own content. So as I said earlier, like the more organic and natural content, the better. So engaging is just as, and everything doesn't have to be like a long, perfect post. It can be something that comes to mind. And then as well, the other thing is like when you engage other people, it can just be as powerful. I'll give the example again of Ernest Cantelin's profile. When he raises a question, there could be like 50 comment thread underneath it, and it's that kind of, and lots of likes and lots of engagement. So definitely spend time engaging with your network. It's like that guy in the room who always wants to talk about himself but never wants to listen to other people. It's important to listen and engage. So Harry, do you have a question?
We had a question just coming in from Jack there about when you're on the CIT page there. He said the main bio or headline description for CIT, do you think it's wrong? And should it be used for something like upcoming news?
Yeah, I suppose so. Definitely, it could be leveraged more. Again, we're not on this. Maybe if I just jump into it quickly while we're here, there is on the home section there will be content as well here. So you'll only ever see this if you actually go to the page itself. But most of, if you follow the CIT, for example, you see this during the day, so you will see this information. But yeah, you raise a good point, Jack. It's a good point. Yeah, maybe it should be more about the student piece as opposed to just the formal announcement. And speaking of Jack, it all starts somewhere, and I think he's a great example of a student who has a really good LinkedIn profile and presence. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. I won't be in trouble for GDPR.
I don't think he minds at all. He's taking a photo of it right now. No.
But it starts somewhere, and I think that's important. Before Jack had his first podcast, he probably had his first post. And again, someone I follow on LinkedIn from Cork, Gearoid Foley. Again, she does a couple of posts every couple of days, but it's such a, there's no work. It's very natural for her to do it. She doesn't seem to be, it's all like stuff she knows. There's nothing fake there as such. And she's also adding value to her network. So a good example would be if you're currently studying something and you figure something out, then why not share it with your network, you know? And a video on an iPhone is just as good as, I know she recently has improved her video quality, but the content is very simple and it's nothing special, but it's just constantly engaging. And Ernest, I mentioned earlier, people probably know him to see now after seeing the picture, but his profile is pretty good if you want to check it out. Yeah, I love his engagement is pretty strong. Here you can see 92 engagements, 5 comments. It's pretty strong from only 826 views. So he definitely does, you know, talk very naturally about things. I have a challenge for you guys. So over the next 24 hours, between now and 6 p.m. tomorrow, I'd love if you guys could, each person could try and post something on LinkedIn using the hashtag CITMSOC, CITMSOC. And I have a complimentary LinkedIn premium account up for grabs, which it's worth a few €100, I think. So definitely, I'll do a draw tomorrow on LinkedIn, which is kind of weird. I've never done one of those draws before, but I think it could be kind of cool to do it on LinkedIn Live. And I'll post it tomorrow night. But please use the hashtag, and I'll take every post as an entry.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for doing that.
And that's any Q&A. So I'll stop sharing now so I can see everyone just.
I thought that was a great presentation. Yeah, thank you so much for putting that together. I know you gave us an hour of your time. Really appreciate that. I'd have some questions that I've written down. I'll only have about 3 or 4, but if anyone else has any others, just either throw them into the chat or come on your microphone or camera or whatever. So I saw on your LinkedIn that you were student union president for 2 years. And did you find that when you're in college, taking up extracurricular activities like that helped you when you were going to find a job?
I think it did, yeah, because there were talking points in interviews, because you kind of, like even in the marketing society thing, there's a lot there. Like you're organizing events, you're organizing like the business society ball is probably a big event that happens every year in CIT. I'm assuming it still is in normal times, but there's a lot of work, a lot of budgets in that. Even in the marketing society, there's probably a big budget there, and you can bring those into the conversation, and it's a good, yeah, definitely I would use it, and it has been helpful to me.
I suppose there you just, well, we have a question there from Shane. How useful is LinkedIn stories for looking for jobs, or is it more effective as just a brand building tool?
I think the brand building thing is definitely, it's really cool right now because not people are using it. It's still early days on the platform, which means if you do a story, most of your network will see it. Whereas, you know, on Instagram, you never get to like the end of your stories because so many people are rubbish before you get to the end. So I think on LinkedIn right now, because it's not adopted, it's just a new tool, certainly it's a good opportunity to take advantage of it for building your brand.
Yeah. And I suppose you mentioned LinkedIn Premium there. What would you say the 3 main benefits of having a LinkedIn Premium account?
It's really good for insights. So you can see, for example, if you apply for a job, you can see how many people applied for it, how you fit. So I might apply for, I'll see a job there and it'll say you're in the top 5% of the current applicants. You would rate against them based on your skills, your profile, and so on, and your time in your jobs. But it's I don't think I don't think you need it. I think there's a lot of things you can do with a free account. It's really good for sending messages and emails and so on, and reaching out to people. But I think until you've actually maxed out the free version, I think the paid version is you can, there's no rush with that.
Yeah, I think they were the last questions I had. You answered the rest of them throughout the presentation, which was brilliant. So does anyone else have any questions? Yeah, there's another one there from Jennifer. Would you say work experience is more valuable than volunteer experience?
I think it depends on, I'm answering this question now as a person who hires people as opposed to LinkedIn, but yeah, I think it's how relevant that experience is, definitely. Yeah, your work experience, if your working experience is in a garden center and you're applying for a marketing job, and your volunteer experience is with a charity helping them with their marketing strategy, then obviously the volunteer experience would be more relevant.
Yeah, it just depends where you do it, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so any more questions, guys?
I have a question there, Harry, if that's all right.
Yeah, we're quick.
Hi, Gearoid. It's nice to see you again. How's it going? Look, I wanted to ask you about LinkedIn stories. It's something that I've kind of used a lot myself over the last, I suppose, 2-3 weeks now that it's been launched. And I know you're marketing and not in, like, you know, product development or like research design, anything like that. But from my experience, it does feel clunky, you know, and I know it's early days. It's something that, like, is definitely like I can see the benefits of LinkedIn having it, especially for that kind of personality content and, you know, showing off who you are, and kind of playing around with it. But the thing is, and I know it improves over time, but why launch it now? Everyone's stuck inside. There's no events. There's nothing really going on. There's not a, you know, like you see polls on Instagram and Twitter, people asking, are you using it? And a lot of the time people are saying no. And fair enough, it is early days, but I'm just thinking from a student perspective, and if I was to launch something like that, why not hold off? Why did it have to be launched now? And they could have, you know, improved it more, allowed people to be able to share it, because, you know, the 20-second limit is one problem with it. There's also things that you can't, like, if you tag someone, they can't share it as well. A lot of the functions that Instagram would have, for example, because, you know, face it, like Instagram, they do have like the best kind of stories feature. So why was it launched now, and why not? Yeah, it's kind of, there was more that could have been done. How do you feel about that, you know, and what's that process like?
Yeah, so it was launched like in Netherlands and Brazil a number of months ago, and other countries have come online as we kind of tested and rolled it out. There's a reason why video has only been launched as well a few years ago, and we're probably late to the stories game. It's because we have this challenge in LinkedIn of we don't want to become Facebook or Instagram. So we're trying to balance the, can members get value out of this without, we don't want to copy it. Sometimes you're kind of forced to take inspiration from other platforms, but if you copy it directly, then what's the difference between the two platforms? So I think in stories, we will see it develop over time. It's been in the works for a couple of years now, and lots of collaboration with our members and so on. It will keep evolving. It's not a finished solution, but it's a good point to raise about COVID. I think it's just, we were ready to go with it, and that's why. Yeah, there's no reason why we should hold, another reason. You could also argue we shouldn't hold back, but yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thanks very much.
We had another question in there by Aaron Burke. Sort of your perspective, best people you follow on Twitter and LinkedIn, maybe in the marketing sector, maybe in Cork especially. Yeah,
I think I mentioned Ernest Cantillon. I know he's not a marketer, but I think he's really interesting insights about business, and he's currently launching a new brand of whiskey, and I think gin, and it's just interesting to follow that journey, because he's very honest about it. I think I can definitely send on a list. I can't think of the top of my mind. I think Pamela's quite good as well from a tactical perspective. I mentioned Muriel as well. The stuff that Jack has is interesting as well, because that kind of podcast is interesting. DC Cahalan as well, I think, is interesting. I think I'm probably missing people now, but there's definitely, even when I recently presented at the Marketing Institute in Cork event, and there's so many really good marketers in Cork at the moment. It seems like there's lots of companies too that are are doing quite well. So it's there's a lot of inspiration there. What I might do, Jack, I might just follow up with you afterwards, if you don't mind, Harry, and I'll send you a list of people I think.
That'd be great. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So I think that might be all the questions everyone has, and I think we do at the end of every talk is we get everyone that can to turn on their cameras. We do a quick like group photo. That's okay with you. So if everyone wants to switch on their cameras if they can, and we'll just do a quick photo.
Just before we take the picture, I just want to say thanks to you. Like, that was an amazing talk. Like, especially I think it's really beneficial for all students. Like, we had kind of marketed it as it was really good for like first and second year students who are in the process of setting it up. But like, I'm in third year, I have my workplace and sorted, and I learned so much from this talk that I was literally like writing down notes. I was like, I can't wait to go on LinkedIn and change up my whole profile. So I just want to say thank you, and like we really, really appreciate everything you've done. Like, it was definitely really beneficial to us. And I have this recorded on my laptop. Must figure out how to figure that out, so we'll hopefully have it uploaded in the next few days. But thank you so much again.
No, my pleasure. And if anyone has any questions as well about the platform, just send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll try and get back to you.
You're muted, Nikki. You muted yourself.
I just realised that. Smile, everyone. Yeah, I got loads there, and I took some throughout the presentation as well. So if you don't mind, can we put them up on like our Instagram and stuff as well, like if that's okay with you?
Yeah, it's okay.
Cool. And this was our most attended to event of the semester. We had 30 people at one point. Yeah, so that was brilliant. 32
actually.
Was it crazy? Wow, yeah. That's really cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Guys, good luck with the rest of the semester. I hope it goes well. I know it's a crazy time for you guys, and I hope we all get to have a pint soon together.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
And actually, Gearoid, I'll send you on some info about the thing we're doing with Bumbulance if you want to know more about that.
Definitely, yeah. And maybe our team can help out, or
that'd be cool.